Hello dear students of the first secondary grade, and welcome to a new episode of our program Bank of Knowledge. On this episode we're going to study some biology. Actually we're going to have Unit 3, Chapter 2, Interaction of Genes, and we're going to talk about the blood groups in man. But let me first welcome my guest, Ms. Violet Khayri. Hello, Ms. Violet, and welcome to the program.
Hello, my
How's
dear students.
everything? All right, so we stopped last time
Speaking about
talking about the lack of dominance.
Yes,
So could
that's
you
right.
just highlight it a little bit before
Sure.
we move on to the next lesson?
Okay, my dear students, last time we studied the lack of dominance, which is the first type of inheritance in the gene interaction. Today we are going to study another type or another method of inheritance that is studying the blood groups in man. Actually, the discoverer of this type of inheritance was the Australian scientist called Carl Landsteiner. And Carl Landsteiner told us a lot about how the blood groups are inherited from one generation to another. He told us that the human being have 4 types of blood groups, and these types of blood groups can be used to classify them. And this type of inheritance, or this character, is controlled by 3 genes. And these 3 genes locate on the chromosome number 9. So on the homologous chromosome number 9 contains 2 genes of the 3 genes. So these are 3 genes, and each person has just 2 of them. The study of blood groups told us that the blood group includes 3 patterns of inheritance. The first pattern, or the first type, is multiple alleles. Since this character is controlled by 3 genes, or 3 alleles, or 3 allelomorphic genes, and these genes are A, B, and O. And we are going to discuss this later on. The second type of, or second pattern of inheritance is complete dominance. The complete dominance, that means the gene A dominates over the gene O, and the gene B also dominates over the gene O. So there is a complete dominance between A and O and B and O. The third type of inheritance is lack of dominance. The presence of the gene A and the gene B in the same person produce another type of blood group, which is AB. Let's discuss the 3 types from the very beginning. Actually, starting with multiple alleles, and we used to say that each character is controlled by just 2 genes. Speaking about Mendelian characters, Mendel told us that there is a gene dominant and another gene which is recessive. So the 2 genes, one is dominant and one is recessive. And when we studied the lack of dominance case, we found that both genes share to produce a third type. So this character, both characters were controlled by 2 genes, but here there are 3 genes: the gene A, the gene B, and the gene O. Actually, the person who has the gene A has his red blood cell contains antigen, certain type of protein on the red blood cell called the antigen. And this antigen of one type, so we called it A. And the person who has the blood group B has another type of antigens. So we give him the symbol B. So there are two genes. The gene A produces antigen from one type, so we called it antigen A, and B produces the antigen of another type, and we call it antigen B. But the person who has blood group O has no antigens on the red blood cell. This is why we can classify people according to the genes that they have. So 3 types of genes. This is why we call it allelomorphic genes or allelomorphic characters, multiple alleles. The second type, which is complete dominance. The gene A dominates over O, and the gene B dominates over O. How it comes? Actually, as we said, that the person must have just two genes of the 3 genes. So okay, 2 genes of the 3 genes. So the person who has blood group A has genotype AA or AO. When it is AA, he is pure, and when it is AO, it is hybrid, but both have the symbol A. So the person has 2 types of blood group, 2 genotypes, so he is group A. And in case of the group B, the genotype of the person could be BO or BB. So the genotype of the person B could be pure or hybrid. When the gene O is present with gene B, the gene O doesn't show any influence, so it doesn't appear. So the B dominates over O, as Mendel said. The third point, or the third pattern of inheritance, is lack of dominance. Speaking about the presence of gene A with the gene B, this is a third type of phenotype, a third phenotype. So when we say the person could be A, or could be B, or could be AB. And A could be AA or AO. B could be BB or BO. And when the gene A is present with the gene B, it is a third type phenotype. This is why we call it lack of dominance, because neither of them dominates over the other one, but a third phenotype is produced. But what about the gene O? The person who has the gene O must be pure. So the 2 genes are OO, because he cannot have gene A, otherwise he will be A group, or gene B to be B group. So the person who has blood group O must have genotype OO. There is no other chance. So the studying blood groups include these 3 patterns. And here is the picture, shows the groups A, B, AB, and O. And these names of the groups can be considered the phenotypes. And the genotype of each one, group A, the genotype could be AA or AO, B, BB, or BO. AB has 1 genotype, AB, and O has one genotype O. Now let's have an exercise or an example to show how this blood group can be inherited from one generation to another. The problem says a man with blood group A married a woman with blood group B. Actually, up till now, we cannot solve the problem because the blood group A could be one of two genotypes. B is the same. So the head of the question should mention that whether the person is homozygous or heterozygous. So complete it with me. And both are heterozygous. So the man is A heterozygous and the B heterozygous. So what will be the expected children? Let us solve this problem in this way. The blood group A, and we said that he is heterozygous, so it must be, yes, it must be AO. With the woman, blood group B, and she also is heterozygous, so we must say yes, BO. These are the parents. What about the gametes? This man could have two types of gametes, a gamete with A and another gamete with O. And the woman must have two types of gametes, gamete with B and gamete with O. The expected children could be A, B, or A, O, or B, O, or O, O. So we will have four expected genotype for their children: AB, AO, BO, and OO. So these are the four types of blood groups. And of course, each problem should mention whether the person is homozygous or heterozygous. The ratio among offspring, yes, the ratio must be 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Okay? Now, we study the chemical classification of blood groups. As we said that the blood groups can be controlled by three types of genes. And as we said that the person who is A group has the gene A and causes the production of certain protein on the red blood cell in a certain way or a certain type. So we give him the symbol A. And the antigen also could be antigen A. And the person who is blood group B has on his red blood cells another type of antigens, which we call it B. And another person has two types of antigens, the antigen A and antigen B on his red blood cell, so we call him AB. But the person who is blood group O has no antigens on the red blood cell, as you see in this picture. So the classification of blood groups into A, B, AB, and O depends on two types of the substances or the antigens found in the blood group. So the antigen is one of the characters can be found in these persons. But let us speak about another substance which is present in the blood. The other substance is the antibodies. The antibodies are present in the plasma of the blood. So the person who is blood group A has antibody or antibodies in his plasma against the different type, different type of antigen. So he has antibodies against the B antigen. Again, the person who is blood group A has antibodies in his plasma against B. So he has antibodies B. And the person who is blood group B has antibodies in his plasma against A. But what about the person who is AB? He cannot have antibody against A because he has A, and cannot be containing antibodies against B because he is B. So he has no antibodies against A or B. But the group B has in the plasma antibodies against all types, all other types, A and B. What is the importance of studying the blood groups? Actually, the blood groups are very important in disputing resolution, in determining paternity and enrollment children to their real parents. So we can use the blood groups, studying blood groups of the parents to know or to detect whether this child is related to these parents or not. Let's have an exercise and explain it in details. Can a child with blood group O to a mother with blood group A be a son of a man with blood group AB? Let us see. The mother is what? Yes, she is A. And the father AB, and their son O. What do you think, my dear students? What do you think? The blood group A could be AA or AO. And the blood group AB has no other chance. It must be AB. And this child should get 2 O genes from one from each parent. So he must get O from his father and O from his mother. But the father has no O. So this child cannot be related to this man. So we can deny the relation of this child to this man. But in another case, if the man is B, for example, and the mother is A, and the son is O, so O has no other chance. It must be OO, and B, for example, could be BO, and A could be AO. So here is the mother, and here is the father. And of course, yes, this father can have gamete with O, and the mother also can have a gamete with O. So this child can get O from each parent. But we cannot prove. So many other children, many other men has the same genotype. So we cannot say for sure that this child is related to this father. But we can deny it. So we can use the blood groups to deny paternity of a certain father to a certain child, but we cannot prove it. Okay, so this is the first importance of studying blood groups. Also, studying blood groups help us in the blood transfusion process. And we cannot transfuse or give a person with blood group a different blood group. So it could be antibodies against the coming blood group, so the person could die. So we have to study very well the blood group of each person in doing the process of blood transfusion. And the third point is help in studying the human race taxonomy. Because as we said, we can classify people into groups according to their type of blood. Blood transfusion process can be blood can be transfused between different groups according to the presence of antigens and antibodies. And this point is not new. We explained it before. As you see in the picture, these are the blood groups with antigens. The blood group A has antigen in a type A, and the blood group B has antigen in a type B. The blood group AB has both types of antigens on the red blood cells, and the type O has no antigens at all. And in the plasma, there are antibodies against the different one. Blood group A has antibodies against B, blood group B has antibodies against A, and the blood group AB has no antibodies against any of them, and the blood group O has antibodies against A and B. And this table shows how can we make or carry out the blood transfusion. These are the antigens A and B, and O. And these are the antigens according to the blood groups. And the antibodies in the blood group A, there is anti-B, blood group B anti-A, blood group AB has no antibodies, but blood group O, the last one, has antibody A and B. Which one can take blood from another one? The donates to the blood group A can give another person with blood group A, and also another person with blood group AB. Why? Because the blood group A has no anti-A, and blood group B has no anti-A. So they both can take blood from blood group A. And it's similar in case of blood group B. Blood group B gives B and gives AB. The blood group AB cannot give unless the person is also blood group AB. But blood group O gives all groups, because all groups have no anti-O. So we give the person the blood that has no antibodies against this new blood. Which one receives from the other one? The blood group A receives from A, and O receives from A also. B also receives from B and O. AB receives from all types, other types of blood groups, and O receives only from O.
All right, so that brings us to the end of this program. I'd like to thank you very much, Ms. Fيوليت Khayri, expert of biology at the Ministry of Education. Thank you very much.
But we have to complete what we
started.
We'll
continue and carry on with this lesson on our next episode. So dear students of the first secondary grade, we've been with you for a half hour, and we've discussed Unit 3, Chapter 2, Interaction of Genes. We talked about the blood groups in man, and we also checked the lack of dominance that we had last time. So until we meet you again, we wish you all the best. Goodbye.
Goodbye.